I'm blind. Are you talking to me?
Drop the weapon. Drop it now. That's Michael. He's blind.
I'm blind, sir. This is my cane. I'm blind.
Why is he cuffed? His ID says...
The morning of September 14th, 2019, began like any other for Michael Johnson. The 43-year-old veteran sat on the front porch of his modest home in Richmond, Virginia, enjoying the last warmth of summer. The sun cast long shadows across his neatly maintained lawn, and the sound of neighborhood children preparing for school filled the air. Michael held his white cane loosely in his right hand, a constant companion he carried for the past 12 years since losing his sight to diabetic retinopathy during his final deployment in Afghanistan. Michael wasn't just any resident of this quiet suburb. He was a decorated Army sergeant who had served 3 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, a Purple Heart recipient, and a respected volunteer at the local Veterans Affairs office. His neighbors knew him as the man who sat on his porch every Saturday morning, never missing a community meeting. That September morning, Michael had no plans beyond waiting for his daughter to pick him up for their weekly breakfast. He checked his watch by touch, 8:47 a.m., 13 minutes until she'd arrive. He tilted his head back, feeling the sunlight on his face. What Michael didn't know was that in the next few minutes, his life would be turned upside down. His dignity would be stripped away on his own front porch, and he would become the center of a case that would ultimately cost the city more than $9 million and expose systemic racism that had been ignored for years. At 8:44 a.m., Officer Derek Hammond received a dispatch call. A robbery had been reported at a convenience store 2 miles away. The suspect, a black male, approximately 6 feet tall, wearing dark clothing, allegedly armed with a handgun. The suspect had fled on foot, heading eastbound. Officer Hammond, a 12-year veteran with a troubling history that would later prove significant, immediately began patrolling residential areas east of the crime scene. Officer Hammond's patrol car rolled slowly down Maple Avenue, his hand resting near his service weapon. The body cam footage shows his breathing was rapid, his movements jerky with adrenaline. At 8:46 a.m., he turned onto Evergreen Street, Michael Johnson's street. From his patrol car, Officer Hammond spotted Michael, a black man, approximately 6 feet tall, wearing dark jeans and a navy blue t-shirt. Hammond's vehicle stopped abruptly in the middle of the street. The body cam captures what happened next, with chilling clarity. "Don't move. Police, show me your hands." Michael's head turned toward the sound, confusion evident on his face. His white cane remained in his right hand, resting against his leg, to anyone paying attention. The white cane, the universal symbol of blindness, should have been immediately visible, but Officer Hammond was already advancing, his weapon drawn. "Sir?" Michael called out, his voice uncertain. "Are you talking to me?" I said, "Show me your hands." "Now, both hands where I can see them." Michael slowly raised both hands, his white cane lifting with his right hand. "Officer, I'm blind. I'm sitting on my own porch. What's going on? Drop the weapon. Drop it now or I will shoot you." The weapon Officer Hammond referred to was Michael's white cane, the collapsible aluminum mobility aid that Michael had used for over a decade. Officer Hammond had mistaken it for a firearm or club. "Officer, this is a cane. I'm blind. I can't see you." Michael's voice remained calm, military training instinctively taking over. But his hands were shaking now. "I don't care what it is. Put it down. Put your hands behind your head." Neighbors had begun emerging. Mistress Patterson, the elderly woman next door, stood in her doorway, hand covering her mouth. David Chen across the street pulled out his cell phone and started recording. "That's Michael Johnson." Mistress Patterson's voice can be heard faintly. "He's blind. He lives here." Officer Hammond didn't acknowledge her. "Get on the ground. Now, face down." Michael carefully lowered his cane, then slowly moved to comply. But the mechanics of getting from seated to lying face down when you cannot see is not simple. Michael's movements were cautious, his hands searching for the edge of the porch steps. "Faster. Do it faster. Stop resisting." "I'm not resisting, officer. I'm blind. I need to feel where I'm going so I don't fall." But Officer Hammond interpreted Michael's careful movements as non-compliance. As Michael attempted to navigate from porch to lawn, Officer Hammond closed the distance. Then, in a moment that would be replayed thousands of times, Officer Hammond's boot connected with Michael's back, forcefully pushing the blind veteran face first into his own lawn. Michael cried out as his face hit the ground. Officer Hammond dropped his knee onto Michael's back, pressing down with his full 210 pounds on a man who had already surrendered. "Stop resisting! Stop resisting!" Officer Hammond shouted, despite Michael lying motionless. "I'm not resisting. I'm blind. Check my pockets. I have my VA identification. I'm a veteran." The handcuffs clicked around Michael's wrists, tightened to the point that they would leave deep bruises and temporary nerve damage. Officer Hammond searched Michael's pockets roughly, pulling out his wallet. The body cam shows the exact moment when Hammond opened the wallet and saw Michael's VA identification card, with "blind" printed across it, his Department of Defense ID, his disability placard. Officer Hammond's hands froze. 3 seconds of silence on the recording. 3 seconds where reality must have crashed down upon him. But instead of releasing Michael, instead of apologizing, Officer Hammond made a choice that would seal his fate. He decided to double down. "You still match the description of a suspect? I'm detaining you until we can verify your identity." Michael Johnson, decorated veteran and blind man lying face down on his own lawn in handcuffs, responded with words that would become headline news. "You're not detaining me. You're humiliating me, and you know it." But this was only the beginning. Within 4 minutes, 3 additional police units arrived. Sergeant Patricia Delgado pulled up at 8:52 a.m. Her body cam shows a neighborhood spectacle, a blind veteran in handcuffs, while 15 neighbors stood watching, several recording, others shouting at Officer Hammond. "That man is blind. He lives here. What the hell are you doing?" David Chen's voice rises above the others. Sergeant Delgado approached Officer Hammond. The conversation between them, recorded on both body cams, would become Exhibit A in multiple investigations. "Hammond, what have we got possible? Suspect from the convenience store robbery. Match the description. Black male, 6 feet, dark clothing. Why is he still in cuffs?" A long pause. "He had identification showing he's blind. But I wanted to verify. You wanted to verify that a blind man sitting on his own porch wasn't an armed robbery suspect. Where's his white cane, Hammond?" "It's on the porch. Uncuff him now." As Officer Hammond removed the handcuffs, Michael slowly pushed himself up. His face bore grass stains and a cut on his forehead. His wrists showed deep red marks. But more than the physical damage, it was the expression on Michael's face that would haunt viewers. Anger, humiliation, and profound dignity. Sergeant Delgado knelt beside Michael. "Sir, I am so sorry. Are you hurt?" Michael turned his face toward her voice. When he spoke, his words were measured and devastating. "Sergeant, I am Master Sergeant Michael Johnson, United States Army, retired. I served 3 tours defending this country, and lost my sight in that service. I have lived in this house for 8 years. I sit on this porch every Saturday morning. My white cane was clearly visible, and your officer assaulted me on my own property and handcuffed me so tightly that I've lost feeling in my left hand," he continued. "I am familiar with the Uniform Code of Military Justice and Civil Rights Law, under the 4th Amendment, which protects me from unreasonable search and seizure. I did not match the description beyond being black and wearing dark clothing, descriptors that apply to thousands of men. Your officer had no reasonable suspicion and certainly no probable cause. He saw a black man and made assumptions that could have cost me my life." Sergeant Delgado closed her eyes briefly. "Sir, we're going to make this right. Are you? Because your officer hasn't apologized. He hasn't explained himself, and I can hear his breathing right now, and I can tell you that he's angry, not remorseful, angry that he got caught." The cameras confirmed Michael's assessment. Officer Hammond's jaw was clenched, arms crossed, body language defensive. Here was a blind man, using only sound, accurately reading the emotional state of the officer who violated his rights. After Hammond retreated, Michael stood with dignity. Mistress Patterson rushed over with a cloth for his cut. David Chen approached, phone recording. "Michael, I got everything on video. I'm uploading it to the cloud right now." "Thank you, David." Michael turned to Sergeant Delgado. "I want to file a formal complaint. I want the officer's name, badge number, and I want to know what happens next. All our officers wear body cams. I give you my word, this footage will be preserved. I'm sure it will, but just so we're clear, I will be contacting an attorney. I will be filing a formal civil rights complaint, and I will make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else." Within 24 hours, Michael had retained Marcus Thompson, a civil rights attorney known for winning police misconduct cases. Thompson filed an official complaint with Internal Affairs and a notice of claim, the first step toward a federal civil rights lawsuit under Section 1983. The Internal Affairs investigation was assigned to Lieutenant Carol Henderson. What she discovered would expose a much larger problem within the Richmond Police Department. The body cam review was damning. From the moment Hammond stopped his vehicle until he handcuffed Michael, only 97 seconds elapsed. In less than 2 minutes, Hammond had drawn his weapon, forced an innocent man to the ground, and restrained him without conducting even basic assessment. The actual robbery suspect had been described as wearing a red hoodie with white stripes, having a distinctive neck tattoo, and being approximately 25 years old. Michael wore a plain navy t-shirt, had no tattoos, and was clearly in his 40s. Most significantly, he was holding a white cane and sitting peacefully on a porch, circumstances bearing no resemblance to a fleeing armed suspect. Lieutenant Henderson then pulled Officer Hammond's complete service record. What she found was a pattern that Internal Affairs had apparently ignored. Hammond had been the subject of 17 citizen complaints during his career. 12 involved allegations of excessive force. 15 of the 17 were filed by black citizens. Only one had been sustained, resulting in a 2-day suspension. By September 17th, David Chen's video had been shared over 2 million times. The hashtag Justice for Michael Johnson trended nationally. News outlets ran stories. Blind veteran assaulted by police on his own porch. Community activists organized a rally at City Hall on September 21st. Over 3,000 people attended, including dozens of veterans organizations. The Veterans of Foreign Wars issued a statement calling the incident an unconscionable violation of a soldier who served with honor. On November 8, 2019, Officer Derek Hammond faced a disciplinary hearing before the Board of Review. Michael Johnson sat in the front row, his white cane resting against his chair, his posture straight and dignified. The evidence was overwhelming. The board reviewed body cam footage, neighbor testimony, medical records showing Michael's injuries, and the pattern of previous complaints against Hammond that had been inadequately addressed. Former Police Chief Maxwell Burton testified as an expert witness. His testimony was scathing. What Officer Hammond did represents a fundamental failure at every level. He failed to conduct proper assessment. He failed to observe obvious indicators: the white cane, the residential setting, the peaceful posture. He escalated force without justification. And critically, he allowed his biases to override his judgment. The fact that Mr. Johnson is black does not constitute reasonable suspicion. Hammond's defense argued split-second decisions under pressure, but the defense crumbled. Attorney Thompson presented a timeline showing Hammond had sufficient time to assess the situation, that Michael's cane was clearly visible, that neighbors were shouting, Michael was blind before force was used. The board deliberated for less than 3 hours. The verdict? Termination, effective immediately. On October 3, 2019, Marcus Thompson had filed a federal civil rights lawsuit. The complaint alleged Fourth Amendment violations, Americans with Disabilities Act violations, assault and battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The dollar amount requested: $2 million. The criminal investigation proceeded in parallel. On December 3rd, Hammond was indicted on assault and battery and malfeasance charges. He pleaded no contest on February 14, 2020, and was sentenced to 12 months in jail, with 9 months suspended, 3 years probation, and 200 hours of community service. The City of Richmond's legal team recognized that trial would be catastrophic. Settlement negotiations began in March 2020. Marcus Thompson's demand was clear: the full $2 million plus comprehensive reforms in police training, oversight, and disciplinary procedures. The city initially offered $5 million and no admission of failures, but Michael refused to settle without meaningful reforms. I didn't serve my country to watch it fail its own citizens. Money can compensate me, but only systemic change can prevent others from suffering. On August 7, 2020, the City of Richmond agreed to settle for $2 million, one of the largest police misconduct settlements in Virginia history. The terms included financial compensation of $2 million to Michael Johnson, an additional $500,000 allocated for a community oversight board with independent investigation authority, mandatory implicit bias training for all officers conducted quarterly, revision of use of force policies requiring de-escalation attempts, implementation of an early warning system to identify officers with complaint patterns, and a public apology from the Richmond Police Department. Today, Michael continues his work with veterans at the Richmond VA office. He's become a sought-after speaker on disability rights and police accountability. The trauma remains. He experiences anxiety when he hears police sirens, but he's transformed his pain into purpose. The settlement allowed Michael to establish the Johnson Foundation for Police Accountability and Disability Rights, which provides legal assistance to individuals who experience similar violations. Derek Hammond, after completing his sentence, moved out of state. He cannot work in law enforcement again. His actions cost him everything and exposed a system that had allowed problematic behavior to continue for over a decade. The Richmond Police Department has undergone significant reforms. Complaint rates regarding excessive force have declined by 37%. The early warning system has identified 12 officers for intervention before behavior escalated. The Community Oversight Board has investigated 42 complaints, sustaining 18 and recommending discipline that was implemented in every case. Michael's case has become a teaching moment in police academies nationwide, studied as an example of how implicit bias and inadequate oversight lead to constitutional violations. This case reminds us that assumptions based on race can be blind to obvious facts, like a white cane clearly identifying someone as visually impaired. That accountability requires addressing systemic patterns, not just individual incidents. That constitutional rights belong to everyone, regardless of ability status. For you, the viewer, this offers practical lessons. Know your Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable search and seizure. Document encounters with law enforcement when possible. Video can be crucial evidence. And if you witness potential misconduct, speak up immediately, as Michael's neighbors did. The story of a blind veteran assaulted on his own porch is ultimately about justice delayed but not denied, about one man's refusal to accept humiliation without demanding accountability, and about the ongoing struggle to ensure those sworn to protect and serve actually do so with honor and equal treatment under law. The price of justice was $2 million and one officer's career, but the value of the reforms that followed, the awareness raised, and the dignity restored to Michael Johnson, that's immeasurable.